Transition: Absalom subverts the nation. David's advancing years and his preoccupation with war and his family problems may have delayed the administration of justice. In this, Absalom saw the opportunity to work his way into the good graces of the people of Israel, eventually building a conspiracy to become king himself. When David received word of this conspiracy, however, he did not delay. His hasty departure from the city to escape Absalom may have been in part to save Jerusalem from siege and possible damage. A chronological note in 2 Samuel 15:7 suggests that 40 years passed before Absalom made his move in Hebron. However, since David's entire reign is reported to have been 40 years. We should probably read 4 years in 2 Samuel 15:7, as does the Septuagint and Greek Old Testament, Syriac manuscripts, and the Jewish historian Josephus. Book of 2 Samuel, Absalom's treason, chapter 15. After this, it happened that Absalom provided himself with the chariots and horses, and 50 men to run before him. Now Absalom would rise early and stand beside the way to the gate. So it was, whenever anyone who had a lawsuit came to the king for a decision, that Absalom would call to him and say, "What city are you from?" And he would say, "Your servant is from such and such a tribe of Israel." Then Absalom would say to him, "Look, your case is good and right, but there is no deputy of the king to hear you." Moreover, Absalom would say, "Oh, that I were made judge in the land, and everyone who has any suit or cause would come to me, then I would give him justice." And so it was, whenever anyone came near to bow down to him, that he would put out his hand and take him and kiss him. In this manner, Absalom acted toward all Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel. Now it came to pass after 40 years that Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go to Hebron and pay the vow which I made to the Lord. For your servant took a vow while I dwelt at Geshur in Syria, saying, If the Lord indeed brings me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord." And the king said to him, "Go in peace." So he rose and went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron." And with Absalom went 200 men invited from Jerusalem, and they went alone innocently and did not know anything. Then Absalom sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, David's counselor, from his city, from Gilo, while he offered sacrifices. And the conspiracy grew strong, for the people with Absalom continually increased in number. David escapes from Jerusalem. Now a messenger came to David, saying, "The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom." So David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, "Arise and let us flee, or we shall not escape from Absalom. Make haste to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring disaster upon us, and strike the city with the edge of the sword." And the king's servants said to the king, "We are your servants, ready to do wherever my lord the king commands." Then the king went out with all his household after him. But the king left 10 women, concubines, to keep the house. And the king went out with all the people after him, and stopped at the outskirts. Then all his servants passed before him, and all the Keretites, all the Peletites, and all the Gittites, 600 men, who had followed him from Gath, passed before the king. Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why are you also going with us? Return and remain with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your own place. In fact, you came only yesterday. Should I make you wander up and down with us today, since I go I know not where? Return and take your brethren back. Mercy and truth be with you." But Ittai answered the king and said, As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely in whatever place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also your servant will be. So David said to Ittai, Go and cross over. Then Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him crossed over. And all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people crossed over. The king himself also crossed over the brook Kidron, and all the people crossed over toward the way of the wilderness. There was Zadok also, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up until all the people had finished crossing over from the city. Then the king said to Zadok, Carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling place. But if he says thus, I have no delight in you, here I am, and let him do to me as seems good to him. The king also said to Zadok the priest, Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, and your 2 sons with you, Ahimaaz your son, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar. See, I will wait in the plains of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me. Therefore Zadok and Abiathar carried the ark of God back to Jerusalem, and they remained there. So David went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives, and wept as he went up, and he had his head covered, and went barefoot. And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went up. Then someone told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. Now it happened when David had come to the top of the mountain, where he worshipped God, there was Hushai, the Archite, coming to meet him with his robe torn and dust on his head. David said to him, If you go on with me, then you will become a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant. O king, as I was your father's servant previously, so I will now also be your servant. Then you may defeat the counsel of Ahithophel for me. And do you not have Zadok and Abiathar the priest with you there? Therefore it will be that whatever you hear from the king's house, you shall tell to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Indeed, they have there with them their 2 sons, Ahimaaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son, and by them you shall send me everything you have. So Hushai, David's friend, went into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem. Gittites fight with David, 2 Samuel 15:18. Gath was one of the 5 principal Philistine cities and was the closest to Judahite territory. According to the report of the book of Joshua, Gath was formerly inhabited by a race of giants called the Anakim, and it was the home of the giant Goliath, whom David killed. David of Israel had personal connections with the Gath. While Saul was king of Israel, David had sought Absalom by fleeing to Gath, where he was received by the city's king, Achish. Later, when David became king of Israel himself, he regularly employed soldiers from Gath in his army. In addition to 600 Gittite mercenaries under the command of Ittai the Gittite, David also employed Obed-Edom the Gittite. Employing foreign mercenaries or whole contingents of foreign troops in one's army was fairly common in the ancient Near East. The Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III used archers and shield-bearing troops from both Syria and Elam. Thus, it is not surprising that David would use foreign auxiliaries, such as the Gittites, in his own armies. Transition, a prayer in time of darkness. As he fled to Jerusalem, David sent the Ark of the Covenant back into the city. He was convinced that if God favored his cause, he would return and see it again. Such trust in God's care is a proper setting in which to read Psalm 3. The superscription of the psalm associates this lament with David's flight from his own son. The book of Psalm 3. The Lord helps his troubled people. Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000 of people who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. For you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. You've broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people. Transition: David flees Jerusalem. Although David had gone to considerable trouble to unite the land of Israel, the tribal distinctions remained. Of all the tribes, the one that resented David most was the tribe of Benjamin, Saul's tribe. As David fled his stronghold in Jerusalem, seemingly deposed, he personally encountered Benjamite hostility. Shimei, a kinsman of Saul, wrongly blamed David for the misfortunes of Saul's last days. Now, book of 2 Samuel, Mephibosheth's servant, chapter 16. When David was a little past the top of the mountain, there was Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, who met him with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 summer fruits, and a skin of wine. And the king said to Ziba, "What do you mean to do with these?" So Ziba said, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for those who are faint in the wilderness to drink." Then the king said, "And where is your master's son?" And Ziba said to the king, "Indeed, he is staying in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Israel will restore the kingdom of my father to me.'" So the king said to Ziba, "Here, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours." And Ziba said, "I humbly bow before you, that I may find favor in your sight, my lord, O king." Shimei curses David. Now when King David came to Bahurim, there was a man from the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera, coming from there. He came out, cursing continuously as he came. And he threw stones at David, and at all the servants of King David. And all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. Also Shimei said thus when he cursed, come out, you bloodthirsty man, you rogue. The Lord has brought upon you all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. So now you are caught in your own evil, because you are a bloodthirsty man." Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Please let me go over and take off his head." But the king said, "What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord has said to him, 'Curse David,' who then shall say, 'Why have you done so?'" And David said to Abishai and all his servants, "See how my son who came from my own body seeks my life. How much more now may this Benjamite? Let him alone, and let him curse, so the Lord has ordered him. It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will repay me with good for his cursing this day." And as David and his men went along the road, Shimei went along the hillside opposite him and cursed as he went, threw stones at him, and kicked up dust. Now the king and all the people who were with him became weary, so they refreshed themselves there. Transition: Persecution from a Benjamite. The superscription to Psalm 7 does not identify a specific time, nor does it identify Cush, a Benjamite, who is mentioned only here in the Bible, Nevertheless, the reference to the insults of this Benjamite Cush responds rather neatly with the insults of the Benjamite Shimei in 2 Samuel 16. The content of Psalm 7 suggests that Cush was an enemy of David. His affiliation with the tribe of Benjamin makes it likely he followed Saul. Whenever and whatever this unknown Cush spoke, the lament of Psalm 7 makes increasingly clear the rivalry between Saul's tribe and David's tribe of Judah. Psalm 7, Prayer and Praise for Deliverance from Enemies. O Lord my God, in you I put my trust. Save me from all those who persecute me, and deliver me, lest they tear me like a lion, rending me in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there is iniquity in my hands, if I have repaid evil to him who was at peace with me, or have plundered my enemy without cause, let the enemy pursue me and overtake me. Yes, let him trample my life to the earth and lay my honor in the dust. Arise, O Lord, in your anger. Lift yourself up because of the rage of my enemies. Rise up for me to the judgments you have commanded. So the congregation of the peoples shall surround you. For their sakes, therefore, return on high. The Lord shall judge the peoples. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness, and according to my integrity within me. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God tests the hearts and minds. My defense is of God, who saves the upright in heart. God is a just judge, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he does not turn back, he will sharpen his sword. He bends his bow and makes it ready. He also prepares for himself instruments of death. He makes his arrows into fiery shafts. Behold, the wicked brings forth iniquity. Yes, he conceives trouble and brings forth falsehood. He made a pit and dug it out, and has fallen into the ditch which he made. His trouble shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down on his own crown. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High. Transition: Who will be a captain? In the ancient Near East, the captain of the army was extremely powerful, almost on a level with the king himself. Indeed, when a king was overthrown, the captain of the army was generally involved. In this period, when first Absalom took over Jerusalem as king, and then David returned to the city as king, two captains, Joab and Amasa, vied for control of the army. Amasa was a cousin of Joab, and both men were nephews of David. Although earlier defending Absalom, Joab went into exile with the king, to whom was his first loyalty. When Absalom entered Jerusalem, he installed Amasa as captain in place of Joab. David's captain Joab is one of the most complex figures in the Bible. On the one hand, he seems to be fiercely loyal to David, but on the other hand, he repeatedly acts on his own initiative, even against David's expressed wishes. His conduct in the battle against Absalom is the best example of Joab's independent nature. Returning to the throne, David sought to heal the wounds of war. He forgave Absalom's captain Amasa and made him captain in place of Joab. David may have blamed Joab for the death of Absalom as well as for the earlier murder of Abner. But Joab, though loyal to David, was also brutally single-minded in his determination to lead David's armies, and he destroyed yet another rival. Amen. This is the end of the Bible reading today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. God bless you. And see you tomorrow again.